Constance just told me to smile. See, I'm smiling. Although there's plenty in the world going on not to smile about. But we're here at the moment. Our sincere concern goes out to all of our friends in Eastern Europe and in Europe and in Russia and in China and everywhere because, you know, we're sort of all in this together. The world has gotten very small. And we should be behaving a little more grown up. But what I can do, as we say, except everything I can think of to do. All right. We're talking about, we started yesterday talking about and reading about people's magical pantacles, or the disc, the first weapon a magician makes. And there's a good reason it's the first weapon the magician makes, because if the magician doesn't make this, the magician's not standing anywhere. The magician has not even a pretend idea of what his or her universe is. So, and it doesn't mean that that opinion, that map of what the magician thinks the universe is, that it won't change as the magician's consciousness expands. It may change many times before he or she dissolves into of Godhead. But anyway, so I started talking about it yesterday, and if you missed yesterday's talk, please, if you're watching this on my Facebook page, just scroll down my page. I think they're all recorded on my page, and if not, a little later this morning or this afternoon, it'll appear on YouTube. Just say Lon Milo DuQuette YouTube, and it'll probably be the freshest thing that's up there. So don't think just because you've missed the live show, you've missed the chaos and confusion that I give you live. So yesterday we were reading from Homemade Magic. Now this is the first edition of Homemade Magic. It's out of print, but a new one is coming, hopefully this year, with a new publisher. But until then, I'm teasing you. You like that, huh? Okay. I'm just going to start just a little bit back of where I left off yesterday. As a magical weapon of the element Earth, the disc is your body and spiritual food, bread, that sustains the body. Did you see the picture of Constance's Hivalupa bread that she made yesterday? She made 2 of those. I posted them on my site. And we tore into one of those yesterday, and between us we ate half of it with just a little bit of butter and salt and olive oil. And while it was still sort of warm, not real warm, but sort of warm, and we took it into the bedroom and turned on TV and made animal noises while we ate it. It was so good. So, But anyway, I digress. Okay, as soon as I stop drooling, I will, let's see here. It's your spiritual food, your bread. Oh, that's where I went off. That sustains your body. It's the solid foundation upon which you will build your temple. It is also your "you are here" map. The disc is also called the pantacle because the design that you create and engrave upon its surface will represent a symbolic form of all that you presently understand the universe to be. I posted something this morning, a little meme, that the pantacle has to be your all. It has to display your all, everything, including nothing. Obviously, coming up with a design that symbolizes absolutely everything in your universe is a pretty tall order and requires a lot of thought and meditation. You need to do it, however, for unless you are grounded by the disc, you cannot begin the great work. The pantacle is your yellow brick road, and you'll never get to the Emerald City to see the Wizard of Oz until you first find the yellow brick road. This is my pantacle. Now, in the book, I show it, the first image of it anyway, like that. Now, the letters are nice and big there. Across the top, you see Nuit, spelled Nuith. And at the bottom of the outer perimeter, it says Hadith. And then just inside that outer perimeter is an 11-sided figure. And there's blackness surrounding it. Then it says Rahur Kuwait on the inside. And then we've got those 4 trees of life that are all joined at their kethers, as if they're all emanating from a single kether. Because once you hit 1, you don't have to play around with 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1 is 1 for everybody's 1. So there. And it's called the Pantacle of Frater L.M.D. Now, at that time, L.M.D. was not only my initials, but it was also the initials of my magical motto, my first magical motto. And it was in French because I am French. And about a million other things too. But anyway, and but it stood for liberté, maîtrise, mastery, dignité, dignity, liberty, mastery, dignity. So that is my neophyte motto. Okay, it still is. You never stop being a neophyte, never stop being a probationer, never stop being a zealoter, never stop being a philosophist. You don't leave it behind, you drag it all up with you. So make sure that it's baggage that's worth bringing up. Okay. I designed it in August of 1976, following my first degree initiation. Now, I've got a footnote here that you might find interesting. Technically, the OTO's first degree is the second initiation into the order. Prior to this, a 0-degree preliminary ritual, Minerval, comes before. I received my Minerval on November 15th, 1975. My first degree took place in August 1976, both in Dublin, California, and the presiding officers were Grady L. McMurtry, 9th degree, 10th degree, Phyllis Seckler McMurtry, 9th degree, and Helen Parsons Smith, 9th degree. Order was pretty small in those days. Okay. My inspiration was a combination of philemic and Kabbalistic cliches. Therefore, the terms I use when describing the universal principles I'm representing are those commonly used by magicians who subscribe to the magic of Aleister Crowley's Thelema. Now, other magicians of different spiritual backgrounds can and should work with the exact same images and concepts, but describe them in terms of their own traditions, such as Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, Islamic, etc. My pentacle has served me well up to this point in my magical career. I can't seem to come up with a better one. Unlike my motto, which I just change every time I feel like I'm a little more awake, unlike my motto, where am I here? All aspects of my understanding for lack of a better word for it, my reality, continue to be represented to my satisfaction by this figure. Here's a description of it in a nutshell. As you read, try to understand what I was trying to do with the design, and then think about how you will represent your understanding of the universe in your pentacle. Now, I'm going to digress just for a second because you might find this interesting. My initiations at Dublin with Grady and Phyllis and Helen were always followed by a wonderful, wonderful dinner. Okay, that Phyllis cooked. Helen helped, and Grady and I, like chauvinistic, overdressed occultists, sat and chatted in the dining room. And remember, this is a very, very early initiation, and Grady and I were discussing the details, and he was answering my questions concerning the details of the initiation ceremony itself and the lecture that was included in the initiation ceremony, which, by the way, I believe is Crowley's best magical work, and probably the least viewed. Anyway, Grady kept stressing the fact that that everything in the initiation, and indeed everything in life, is magical and contains magical significance, and that Crowley didn't do anything as far as the initiation. He didn't say one word in the initiation. He didn't include one gesture or piece of theatrical business that didn't have some profound meaning, if only you looked for that meaning. And I kept saying, well, like what, you know? And he says, it doesn't work that way, you know. You find it the second you tell somebody exactly what you think it is. You've crystallized it in your mind and you turned it into something else. You've limited the mystery, the secret. You've limited what that person is about to discover for themselves. And he said, even the letters in the name, even our initials, OTO, have great cosmic significance. And that set me off for until I made this pantacle. I said, well, that's got me thinking that OTO is two circles, and the capital T is a cross. So crosses and OTO, just even when you say it, well, the OTO, okay, is actually saying crosses, circles, crosses, circle. So that got me thinking, and everything else involved, including Jane Wolfe's recipe for chutney that Phyllis was whipping up in the next room. I said, does even that have significance? And he says, well, Crowley loved his curry. Yeah. But anyway, I know Constance's food has cosmic significance. You want to bring out one of those Hoopa Loopas?
They're in the freezer.
Oh, the full one's in the freezer at the moment. Okay. Here. I know we're not allowed to eat bread 2 days in a row because it's against the monastery rules. Okay. We're moving right along this morning. Gee, I'm sorry. The Pantacle of Lon L.M.D. The basic format of my pantacle was suggested by something I read in Crowley's Magic, Liber ABA, Book 4, Part 2. Here's what he says. The wand was the will of man, his wisdom, his word. The cup, his understanding, the vehicle of grace. The sword was his reason, and the pantacle shall be his body, the temple of the Holy Ghost. What is the length? Okay, now I'm going to turn this. Such. What is the length of this temple? From north to south. What is the breadth of this temple? From east to west. What is the height of this temple? From abyss, that black 11-sided thing, to abyss, the black circle in the center, separating the supernal triads of all four trees of life from the other. From north to south, to east to west, from abyss to abyss. All pantacles will contain, this is still Crowley talking, all pantacles will contain the ultimate conceptions of the circle and the cross. The tree of life itself may be figured therein. The pantacle will be imperfect unless each idea is contrasted and balanced, contrasted in a balanced manner with its opposite. You like those sound effects? In a balanced manner with its opposite, unless there is a necessary connection between each pair of ideas and every other pair. Unquote. I first and foremost wanted my pentacle to represent three absolutes: the absolute biggest thing in the universe, the absolute smallest thing in the universe, and absolutely everything in between those two opposites. So let's talk about the rim of the pentacle first. Nuit Hadit. The first two ultimate conceptions in my magical reality are two infinities, the infinite out and the infinite in. The infinite out is the outer limits of our expanding universe, quite literally, the outermost reaches of expanding space. In the language of Thelemic cosmology, this huge infinity is identified as the goddess Nuit, also spelled Nuith, the Egyptian sky goddess whose very body is the starry universe. You can't get any bigger or more outier than that. I chose to acknowledge this aspect of my universe on my pentacle by placing the name Nuith on the circumference. And that is a device that I borrowed, stole, plagiarized, if you will, from something I saw Frederick Akkad do with his pentacle. Furthermore, because the, quote, pentacle will be imperfect unless each idea is contrasted in a balanced manner with its opposite, unquote, I chose also to acknowledge upon the rim of my pentacle the opposite infinity. Yes, there can be two infinities. Because the circumference, Nuith, is in a very real sense everywhere, so too must the theoretical center of this everywhereness. This tiny infinite inness is identified as the god Hadit, also spelled Hadith, the infinite point in the very center of the heart of the body of Nuit. Because Nuit is the infinite out and Hadit is the infinite in, they are both infinitely everywhere, infinitely touching and rubbing and caressing the infinite heart of Hadit, beating eternally in the infinite center of the body of Nuit. This is cosmic lovemaking on an unimaginably large and minute scales, and results in the birth of an infinite baby, the child of Nuit and Hadit. This child is the creative vibration generated by the friction of the universal in uniting with the universal out. This ecstatic vibration creates a field of operation, mass, matter, energy, upon which and within which the entire universe actually manifests in space-time. In the nomenclature of Thelemic magic, this child is Ra-Hur-Kuit. I placed his name not on the outer perimeter of the pentacle, with his infinitely abstract and unmanifest parents, but on the inside of the perimeter of the pentacle, right here. Ra-Hur-Kuit. To illustrate the manifest nature of this field of operation. Nuit is the biggest thing in the universe, Hadit is the smallest thing in the universe, and Ra-Hur-Kuit provides the foundation for absolutely everything in between. The cross is the next major feature of my pentacle. Just as Hadit is at the center of Nuit's body, I placed a small circle at the very center of the disc, right there. Let's see. For me, this represents the first one of manifest creation. In Kabbalistic terms, it is Godhead, the crown, Kether, the first emanation of the tree of life. So over here I've got at the top circle, where are we? At the top circle, we see the Nuit and the Hadit and the Rahur Kuit. And in the bottom circle, we see that number one, that point. That's the Kether. Until then, Nuit, Hadit, and Rahur Kuit are just the potentiality of oneness. But that circle in the center is actually the first one. And it says the infinite out, Nuit, the infinite in, Hadit, and their infinite point of contact, Rahur Kuit. And the bottom circle says infinities concentrated into a primal singularity, Kether, on the Kabbalistic tree of life. What is the length of this temple? From north to south. What is the breadth of this temple? From east to west. This point, this primal one, Kether, crown, from which emanate the other Sephiroth of the tree of life. But there are 4 trees of life, representing the 4 Kabbalistic worlds of Atzilith, Braya, Yetzirah, and Asaya, and the 4 parts of the soul. The cross of my pantacle is made from 4 trees of life, bursting in the 4 directions from the primal point of Kether. This way of looking at things shows a total of 37 Sephiroth. And 37, just by the way, for all of us anal retentive Kabbalists, 37 is the number in Hebrew of the word Yecheda, or Yecheda, describing the ultimate unity of the soul. What is the height of this temple? From abyss to abyss. Now I draw your attention again to the 11-sided abyss between the perimeter and the central field, and the black circle abyss that backs the supernal triads of the 4 trees of life. These abysses, which are really one, no, they're really none, guard the 2 border areas of being. Number 1, being coming forth from the unmanifest potentiality, and 2, the fully realized being returning to unmanifest potentiality. I hope you've had coffee and are following this. Even if you don't follow my thinking on these Kabbalistic matters, I hope you'll get the general idea of what I was trying to achieve with my pantacle. On my map, I can point out specific landmarks of creation and consciousness as I understand them. Fundamental forces of nature, parts of the soul, Kabbalistic worlds, elements, planets, planetary spheres, zodiac signs, even tarot cards and initiatory grades. Now it's your turn. What does your universe look like? It could be as profoundly simple as a yin-yang symbol, a pentagram or a square or a triangle, but you must ask yourself if you'll be able to point out exactly where on that simple symbol you could find, for example, the sun, or the element of air, or the zodiac sign Capricorn. What combination of words, symbols, figures do you need to assemble to represent your idea of infinite space? Or exactly where could you pinpoint your present degree of initiation or illumination? Where's the next step on your spiritual evolution? As with your magical motto, you'll probably make several, perhaps many different pentacles during your long and illustrious magical career. But you have to start somewhere. And you have to start sometime. And that time is now. I'd like you to create your own homemade magical pentacle in the blank disc on the next page. And I left a blank thing there. How cutesy and clever. Sign it with your own magical motto, give it some thought, but remember that your understanding of your universe is changing with every breath you take. You will most likely change the design many times in the future, so don't take too much time now. But there's no time like the present, so do it now. Okay. Now, I mentioned yesterday that ultimately this, when we could put it under a special magic microscope that on the outside of the box of the magic microscope it said special tarot glasses, tarot lens microscope. And we put this under a microscope. What we see is Lon's tarot deck. Lon's pentacle, as the years rolled by, turned into Lon's tarot deck. It's an expansion of my work. It's the expansion of the universe that I, at the time and still do for the most part, represent as my reality, or at least gives me a vocabulary for my discussion of my reality. And tomorrow, I'm going to do a quick little breakdown. It won't be as long as today. I won't burden you with it. But I'll give you a little breakdown of exactly what I mean by my disc has turned into my tarot card. And in many older classic traditions, I believe the Ace of Discs was in the tarot, was used as the card that the designer of the tarot used as his signature card, or his or her signature card, which makes perfect sense to me. And that's why on my Ace of Discs, and indeed on all of my discs, the image of the discs I use for all of them is my disc, my pentacle. Okay, enough for today. Hold a good thought for all of those. Hold a good thought that some form of logic and rationale prevails in the troubles that we're seeing developing in Eastern Europe. And if you're one of our fans, I hope you haven't been jammed out of your Facebook, but know that we're thinking about you. Till tomorrow, be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.